Hey, Warrior Saints, welcome back to another edition of our Crucifixional Life stream. We are excited to have you here with us today. We're continuing this thought process that we hear in St. Paul's letter to the Romans in chapter 12, verse 2, where he says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." He goes on to talk about why we want to do this so that we can do those things that are good and pleasing to the Lord, which are very good things to do. Yesterday, we talked about love. And how love is self-sacrificial. How in that beautiful passage that we hear from St. Paul all the time being read from 1 Corinthians 13, where he talks about love and it's this wonderful feeling, and it's not about that. He talks about love as being something that is for you to do for the sake of others, so that you can get rid of your junk, so that you can get rid of the stuff that is holding you back, that is keeping you from being who he has created you to be, so that you can get rid of the stuff that holds you down, so that you cannot do what God has commanded you to do, so that you cannot do and be the exceptional human being that God has created you to be. Today, we're going to kind of shift, but also continue along this line, kind of like a raft that's going down a river as the river keeps bending. We're going to look at how do we do it, and we're going to start with renewing our outlook. How do we change our outlook? How do we change how we see the world? Because if we're going to actually renew our mind and not be conforming to the world and its junk, to the woke theology and the stuff that produces, then we need to understand how to adjust our outlook so that we can change and be transformed by the renewal of our minds. And we're going to turn again to St. Paul because he has a lot of great things to say about this. We're going to look at Ephesians chapter 4, verses 22 through 24, where he says, "Put off your old nature, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful lusts. Be renewed in the spirit of your minds and put on the new nature, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness." We're going to get rid of the junk so that we can put on the good, so that we can get rid of the stuff that's holding us back, so that we can get rid of all of this stuff. And it starts with renewing our outlook. It starts with seeing the world through a positive lens. True story. I am working very hard to try to see things through a positive lens. At the same time, I am highly critical of myself and anything that I produce. So what does that look like? It looks like after I do something, if Father Chris says that was great, I say, well, I could have done X, Y, and Z better. Renewing my outlook means I begin that conversation with, thank you so much. What I see where I could improve. But I start with thank you. I don't start with that was terrible. I start by shifting my outlook. I start changing my mind by adjusting how I see what's going on around me. And as we're approaching a new year, we're going to look at this more in depth because this is precisely what we need to do. This is what we as Warrior Saints, moving in this great Warrior Saints movement that we are trying to work on, that we invite you to join us by visiting warriorsaints.org. Working through this movement begins with renewing our outlook so that we have the opportunity to make changes elsewhere, so that we can help others renew their outlooks, so that everyone is starting to renew their outlook, and we stop having all of this anger, all of this defaulting towards misery and whining and self-criticism, which is not bad to be self-critical. You have to be a little bit introspective and be able to see where you can improve, but start with the positive. We need to start by changing our mindset so that's not all that we see. So we invite you to come along with us. Visit us, warriorsaints.org. Get on the way of the Warrior Saint. Join this movement that is moving towards a renewed outlook and getting away from the old crap of the world that wants you to stay angry. Till we see you tomorrow, keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.